So I did it. It's done. I've done everything that I need to publish my first book, and now it's just a waiting game. And I figured, while I'm sitting here waiting, might as well just talk about all of the things I learned in publishing my first book, because let me tell you, I learned a lot, and I didn't really do it always the correct way. I probably could have saved myself a lot of time if I'd just, known what I was doing. I didn't. But, we live and we learn. And I figured maybe that this video will help anyone, or it might just be interesting to people who've been following this channel. So, yeah, just a really quick preface before I get into this. I'm not really speaking from a place of credibility here. My name is Noah Page. I am an author and an artist, not professionally by any means. This is the art for the cover of my first book. I do it all with just an ordinary Bic pen. And I love it. I've been doing it for a very long time, and I think I've gotten kind of good at it, but I am not a professional. I've never worked in an artistic capacity occupationally ever. I didn't go to school for any of this stuff. I've never worked in the publishing or editing industry. I've never done it before, so I'm only saying that just because this shouldn't be taken as with insider knowledge. This has been my experience publishing these novels and monetizing my art without having any prior knowledge of the field, and this shouldn't really be taken as a guide of how to, because I did a lot of things wrong. But hopefully I can at least enlighten you what I did wrong, because I pretty much know what I did wrong. But anyway, without further ado, let's just get started. I guess the best place to get started is the decision point for when I decided I was going to publish these books. I could talk a lot about cultivating the narrative, my writing process, stuff like that, but that probably has a better place in a different video or its own video. So I'm not going to focus on that, just the business, marketing, and publishing side of things. So I first decided that I was going to publish my debut novel about 2.5 years ago on my third deployment to Syria. Up until then, I enjoyed writing. I've always loved writing. I've always loved drawing. I was writing characters, or writing about the characters that I draw. It's pretty much, that's how this happened. And I finally, I had the first draft of my book completely done and readable. Most importantly, readable. I shared it with a bunch of buddies that I was over there with. They really enjoyed it, said that I should get it published. I was like, okay. I didn't, I've been in the Army since I was a teenager. I don't know how to do this. I don't have any education in any of this. It was a very difficult learning curve for me. So I did what anyone would do. I went to YouTube and just kind of started chipping away at the process, trying to learn about the industry and what I needed to do. After a fair amount of time on the internet, trying to learn how to do it, I came to the conclusion that my first draft of my novel was probably not refined enough to send to an agent. If you're going to pitch to traditional publishers, you got to pitch to an agent. So what I decided to do was revise my novel while I was over there, get it to a really good state, and then hire a developmental editor when I got back, which is what I did. I went through Reezy and hired a developmental editor, and that's kind of decision one in the publishing journey. And so I'm gonna say this because I still don't know what the correct answer is, and I don't know what I'm going to do for my subsequent books, but I got a developmental editor off of Reezy. He was an incredible guy. He really cared about his work, and, he cared about my novel. But I'm still not certain that a developmental editor is a necessary step in the editing process. Again, maybe it is. It just really didn't feel like it for my novel. Because there's a lot of the critiques that you are getting from your developmental editor will be addressed by those first really core beta readers that are reading your really unpolished manuscript. And most developmental editors are probably going to cost you anywhere from $1,400 to $2,000, which is not an insignificant amount of money. And there's other steps and other editing phases in your process that are significantly more necessary. So if you have the luxury to get a developmental editor, I definitely recommend it if you have that kind of dough. But if you don't, and you have to skip something in the editing process, I'd probably say the developmental edit is the one you can afford the most wiggle room on, just in my experience. Again, I'm still ultimately maybe happy that I did it, but I'm just not certain how necessary it is. But I got it, I got my developmental edit, and then I figured my manuscript is good enough to send to agents, to literary agents. Okay, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure a lot of you do. In order to pitch your manuscript to really any traditional publishing entity and a lot of indie publishing entities, you must have representation from a literary agent. The only way to do that is to query. Not the only way, the most common way is to query. So, thus started my querying process. I started to query literary agents. Again, this is just by using formats that I found on the internet. Internet's an amazing thing, and someone like me with no prior education or anything like that can just learn how to do all of this stuff, and I did. And I went back and checked numbers before starting this video because I think that it's important to set expectations for people. Again, I'm not inside the industry, so I don't have a definitive answer on what's actually normal and not, but I sent query letters to probably anywhere between 90 and 120 literary agents, which might seem like a lot, but I think that that's actually kind of standard. It might even be low. I don't know, but that was my number. It was about 90 to 120. And, I had a couple different phases of querying. I went through probably 3 phases where I would query 30 to 40 literary agents at a time. You're not supposed to, it's not considered necessarily professional to query 2 different literary agents at the same agency. So I tried to avoid doing that. If I got a rejection from one agency and I really liked the agency, I would query another agent within that agency. And so, yeah, I went through that process, and over the course of probably about 4 or 5 months, I'd say conservatively half of them responded to me, and of the responses I got, I'd say over half of them were rejections. So from the get-go, that's probably about 75 just rejections outright, 75% rejections outright to for representation, which again I think is kind of standard. I mean, these literary agents are receiving presumably thousands of queries a month, maybe even a week. So you just have to be on it. And probably some of my earlier queries weren't all that great just because I was learning. But eventually I did get some agencies and some agents that asked for my full manuscript, which is generally, I believe, how that works. So they asked for my full manuscript, and I sent it to them in the format that they requested. And of the agents and the agencies that requested my full manuscript, I got offered representation by 4. So if we're highballing it, I'm going to say out of 120 queries, I got offered representation by 4. Maybe out of 90 queries, I don't know. But and again, at the time, that felt really, really low. I've talked to people since then who said that's actually kind of standard. Maybe it is, I don't know. But I was really, really excited, and I signed with the agent that seemed like they had my interests best in mind, and we were the most aligned with the way that this should be taken. So, super cool. I was really, really excited. I got myself an agent. She was super, super sick, and I was really excited. Then I had to leave for work very suddenly. I had kind of put everything on hold, and I just kind of let her do her thing with my manuscript, because really, at this point, I wasn't doing anything. It's her job to approach traditional publishers and represent my work. This is where it kind of started to get a little bit odd for me, because while I was gone just researching the publishing industry on my own and just really getting inundated with this kind of sphere, I just became more and more disenfranchised with the state of the industry and all of the different directions that people were planning on taking my work. And again, I'm very, very particular, because I've been an artist a lot longer than I've been a writer or an author, and the contents of my book are very, very important to me, but also the way that I approach my readers and the way that I present myself to the public is extremely important to me. And I don't know, a lot of like marketers and advertisers just don't really share my opinions on the way that that should be done, specifically within the context of my work. And me and my agent kind of began to butt more and more heads about like that aspect of things. You know, some people might say that I've had a pretty successful career within my current field. She really wanted to lean into that for marketing. I said, no, I didn't. Like, it doesn't matter nothing that I've done in service really matters in the context of publishing my novel. I want this to sell on its own merit. If we can like front the marketing campaign on my art, then I would like to do that. And then she said, I'm not even certain that we should include your art in the book because that's going to be harder to sell to a traditional publisher. That was a deal breaker for me. I was like, this story exists because of the art that I've done about these characters. I want at least some of it to be in the novel. And her argument was, you know, how about we do an author's edition later? We can release it, and then you'll make even more money. And I just didn't like that. There's other aspects. I'm not going to get into every aspect of the marketing process in the traditional like publishing industry that made me a little hesitant, but there's a lot. And ultimately it got to the point where when I got back, I parted ways with her. And when I parted ways with her, I kind of parted ways with the traditional publishing industry because it wasn't her fault. Like, any agent that I got was going to do the exact same thing that she was doing. She was doing her job, and she was doing a phenomenal job, and we didn't part on bad terms anyway. I just decided that this isn't the way that I wanted to do it. And so we parted ways, and I decided, okay, we're not doing the traditional publishing thing. It's not for me. I want more creative control, not only of my own work, but of the way that my work is presented. So we're going to do the indie thing. So that's when I started looking at kind of indie publishers that would take unsolicited manuscripts. Again, trying to kind of forward my art as the selling point rather than any other aspect of me or my personality, and obviously the literature itself. You know, at the end of the day, that's what really matters here. And I had some success there. I talked to a lot of really great indie firms, and most were still rejections just because that's normal. Like, I mean, at some point you're just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. But I had two indie firms offer me or offer to publish my novel, and again, super excited. That was going to be really cool. But we still had some non-negotiables of mine that they couldn't come to the table on, and that's where I began to understand again that like it's a me thing, you know. I've never really wanted my book to be published through Amazon. I have a lot of opinions on the way that Amazon not only treats authors but also readers, and you know, if someone buys my book, especially on like Kindle or in the ebook format, I want them to own my book. I think that that's really, really important. And even more than that, I want to release my ebook for free. It's something that I've always really wanted to do. Is I want people, like, the work is done. I've written this book and I love it, and I'm going to continue to write, but it costs me nothing. It costs me absolutely nothing to release my ebook for free. And, you know, if you can't afford to buy a physical copy of it, or maybe that's just not something that you want to do, then you can just download it for free. I think that, like, again, that's just a really easy thing to do. And I think that it's really awesome when I see other artists and other authors do something like that. And it's something that I always wanted to do. And it helps me. Like, I think that the easiest way to get people to read your material or experience your work is don't lock it behind a paywall. Like, it costs me nothing to give this to you, but it also costs you nothing but your time, which is arguably the most important currency that you have, to experience my work. I think that that's one of the most mutually beneficial relationships that an author could have with their reader base. And so I've always wanted to do that, but both indie firms weren't comfortable with that because, you know, obviously we're taking a very big monetary hit if you release your ebook for free. So I quickly understood that the only way that I can do this is by self-publishing it. That's my only option, really. If I want to do this the way that I want to do this, then I have to self-publish. So that's what I decided to do. I decided I was going to get all of it done, do the work on my own, which proved to be a lot more than I realized, but it was good. By this point, I already had like a pretty decent understanding of like the publishing industry, so to speak, and so I think like it just wasn't that difficult. I just had to get out of my comfort zone, because like my plan was to give my work to an entity and just let them do whatever they want with it, let them market it, let them do all of that things, because I'm not really a marketer by nature. I've been an artist for 15 years, and none of my stuff has been on the internet except for the past year. That's just not something I ever really needed to do, and it's okay. I've stepped out of my comfort zone out of necessity to do this, and it hasn't been as bad as I thought it would, but I still don't really know what I'm doing, and that's really what you're buying from like traditional publishers and indie publishers, is the marketing. Obviously, I don't have any of that, so I have to market my work on my own, and this is pretty much what I'm doing like right now. It's the best way of me doing it, is I'm getting my art out there and I'm getting myself out there. I'm not certain that I understand the effectiveness of like ad campaigns, and I don't think that it's something that I'm gonna do, because I think that this style of content is the most indicative of my work, and it's the most authentic way to see me as a person. And that's really what I want a motif behind my work to be, is authentic. You know, we have so much synthetic and just lifeless media out there right now, and I've poured my heart and soul into these. And regardless of if you think they're good or not, like, I have worked really, really hard on them. And if you don't like them, that's completely okay. That's totally fine. You're even like more than welcome to tell me that you don't like them. Go leave a 1-star review. That's more than okay. But I just want it to be represented appropriately. So I decided we're going to self-publish, and yeah, so now that I'm on, at this point, I'm probably like, after I've made this decision, I'm on probably, I don't know, draft like 8 of my manuscript. It's been through a couple beta reads. I'm ready for my copy edit. Copy edit's necessary. There is no way around it. Like, if you are broke, have no money, figure it out, like, in my mind, like, you just have to have a copy edit. Like, and maybe it would have been different if I had like a degree in something like this, or if I had, you know, just some level of education, but I didn't, so I needed to shell out for a copy editor, and I'm very happy that I did, because like, I want to present this the best way that I can to my reader. So I bought a copy editor, worked very closely with him. He was phenomenal. We got my manuscript to probably about a 90-95% solution, and then it was just about proofreading. So I sent it out for some proofreads. I bought 3 professional proofreaders, and then I sent it out to some friends and family for the proofread, which is like, the friends and family just kind of turned into another round of beta reads. And like, finding beta readers is a very difficult thing to do. If any of you guys have ever attempted to do it, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, let me tell you, like, it's not good, because you get either the people over here that think that they're line editors and they're reading your book as if they're line editors and not readers, and that's just like really frustrating, because it's like, okay, you're not trained to do this, you don't have an eye for this, you might be like a phenomenal reader and you might read like 5 books a month, but this isn't why I'm asking you. And then you'll have people over here that like read your entire novel and give you 2 sentences of feedback, and you're like, okay, well, that was really helpful. So like, finding good beta readers is definitely a trial and error. And that's, by the way, of the people that finish your novel, because there's a lot of people that you'll give your novel to and they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm super excited, you wrote a novel, that's awesome, let me read it. And then like 4 weeks later, you'll hit them up and be like, hey, what's your progress? And like, oh dude, I only got like 5 chapters in, work, you know, just slammed X, Y, and Z. So like, all of that stuff will happen, and you just need to be ready for it. In my experience, it's not an indication of the merit of your work, it's just, in general, people. Like, But that being said, I found some like awesome beta readers just amongst my friends and family, and so I had them help me out along with professional proofreaders. I think that that's super, super necessary, that you have people that are reading your work, and it is their job to not give you a biased opinion. No matter how much your friends and family are saying that they're unbiased, in my experience, it's very, very hard for me to accept that. Even if they're being honest, and they might be, it's hard for me as an author to accept that. You know, some guy that I've been friends with for 15 years reads my manuscript that I've worked so hard on. He says that it's good. Maybe he believes it, maybe he doesn't. Even if he's being honest, I don't believe that he's not lying to me. I think I just couldn't shake that feeling. So that's why I shelled out for the proofreaders. I got really good feedback. They caught a couple typos that was missed in the copy editing, which is again necessary. I cannot stress how necessary that is. At this stage, like by the time my book had been published, I think I had read my book, cover to cover, read my book 10 to 15 times. And I was still finding instances where I spelled my protagonist's name wrong, like stuff that just slips through the cracks. Like, you cannot do it on your own. And like, that's been my whole theme for this, is like, go at it alone. You just can't. You need proofreaders, you need professionals to help you specifically with that stuff, just because it's going to fall through the cracks, or at least I did. Again, maybe if you are classically trained in this area, you don't. I don't know, speaking from my experience. So I got all that, got the proofreading done, go team. Awesome. Book's good to ship. It's not though, because now I need to figure out, if I'm self-publishing, all of the different aspects like that go into that. Do I want to use a print-on-demand like distribution list? Do I want to sell directly to readers? Like, how do I want to do it? So what I ended up doing, I've decided that I'm going to go directly to readers, and so I have to build my own website. I have to do like all of that nonsense, which is, again, it's okay. And all of this stuff is like things that I had to learn on my own, but you can. It's not exceptionally hard. I don't think that you need any like form of like really elevated intelligence to get around it. You just need to put the time in, which, you know, it's difficult, but you can do it. And here we are. Like, I've done it all. Website's good. It's not up yet. I'm waiting until like I get the all good from my print on demand company, and like funnily enough, I've had some interesting happenings of late. You know, I had a publishing company reach out to me and ask to be on the distribution list, and I already went down the rabbit hole of like, hey, self-publishing, you know, want to yada yada yada. They were like, no, that's fine. You can still self-publish, and you can still do all of the things that you're doing, sell on your websites. You can, but we are just asking to be on the distribution list. And I didn't even consider that as being a possibility, but I don't know, maybe I'm going to do that. I haven't really decided yet, because it doesn't affect my timeline at all. And if they want to release their own copy of my work completely unchanged, with maybe their own cover, I think I'd be okay with that. I really do. Like, I would love to give an artist, a different artist, a crack at my cover. I think that would be super fun, especially if it's someone that's passionate about the work. And the publishing company that reached out to me, I'm actually very familiar with their work, and I like it. So maybe I'll go that route. I don't know. But I think that the biggest thing that the biggest thing that I have found is, like, if I had to, like, kind of take a step back of the weeds of me going through this journey and come back out and talk about just the publishing industry in general, I just romanticized it a lot more because I figured it's reading. You know, I thought that the publishing industry isn't going to be the same as other media industries, like, I don't know, movies, video games, and TV shows. But that was a little bit of a naive assumption, which is okay. This isn't a knock. It's a little bit of a knock on the publishing industry, but they just value the bottom line over creators. That's just kind of the way that it is right now in America in 2025. I have a lot of things that I could say about it, but at the end of the day, their job is to make money. And that's not my primary concern. It's never been my primary concern, and it's never going to be my primary concern. Not with this. Not with my art. Like, my primary concern is to preserve the artistic integrity of my work. That will always be my primary concern. And if I have to, like, step out of my own comfort zone and publish this on my own, I'm happy to do it. I'm still going to do it the right way. I'm going to do everything that I can to do it the right way. But I am going to do it. And I figured that the only thing that you're really buying with getting traditionally published is, well, there's a couple things. A, credibility, right? Even though that's beginning to wane in the modern day, but there is some level of credibility that you're buying with going with, through a traditional publisher. If someone picks up my book and they see the Tor or the Penguin Random House or the Orbit watermark, it immediately buys some level of credibility. In my mind, like, all of the noise you see on the outside of books, like, that's really what you're doing, and I'm playing a dangerous game by kind of ignoring that. Like, you flip the book to the back of reviews. This book was thrilling and really enthralled me. It's by a review by Brandon Sanderson. A reader looks at that and they're like, oh, Brandon Sanderson endorses this book. Okay, credibility. It's published by Tor, distributed by Tor. Credibility. Flip to the front of the book. New York Times bestseller. I'm sure there's still like tens of people out there that think that that's credible. And I'm not going to have any of that. Like, I don't have any reviews to put on my book. Even if I did, I wouldn't, because I think that it's just clutter and I think it takes away from the book itself. Don't have a publisher's watermark, because it's me. And obviously we aren't a bestseller of anything. So I'm definitely losing that, which it's okay. I almost like it even better because, guess what? I don't have any credibility. I'm not going to try and pretend that I do. I think that that's a little bit deceptive. Like, take a chance on my book if you want to, and understand that that's what you're doing. You're taking a chance. And guess what? You get to do it for free because I'm giving you my ebook for free. I would love for you to buy the physical copies of my book, mostly because I have a lot of artwork that's in the book that I think is really cool. And also, I make money if you buy the physical copy of my book, which would be super sick. But if it's something that you're hesitant on, by all means, like, read the first couple chapters, read the first half of the book in the EPUB file. I'd be happy for that. That's the entire reason that it's there, is because I understand that I'm not coming from a place of credibility, and just because I like to do it. But another thing with, like, the traditional publishing industry and just even indie publishers is, like, distribution and marketing. I have none of that. I have not a single bit of it, and it's proven to be daunting. It would be really, really easy if there was an infrastructure already set up for that. Right now, I have this tripod and my phone. That is what we are doing for marketing. That's honestly all I can bring myself to do for marketing. I've had a lot of people. I've even met with, like, a friend of mine who has a friend who's a talent agent. They had all of this advice for me, and it really did make me sick to my stomach. Not because I'm against it per se. It's just not me. I'm not going to make a TikTok. I'm not going to make YouTube shorts. That's just not me. And I think that, I think that that's okay, because the moment that I start presenting myself as something that I'm not, that's when this starts to get really, really exhausting, and I have to just put on a facade. And I know that I can't do that for an extended period of time. I just do. This is very easy. Me turning on my camera and just being earnest with my, my audience, that's easy. And if you like that, then great. And if you don't, that's fine too. I don't want to do other things to pull you in. If you don't like that, that's okay. You don't need to. You can take your time elsewhere and spend it where you are receiving some value. But if I have to trick people into, like, absorbing my persona and, like, kind of coming into this world, and I have to continue to do that over the course of probably the rest of my life, it's going to be a problem. I'm not going to be able to sustain it, and I can only see that ending poorly. So I'm not going to start doing it now. I'm just going to hold true to what I know and what feels comfortable for me. And I genuinely believe that that's the the best way of marketing this thing. It's going to be slower. I know that it's going to be slower. I know that it's probably in the scope of like the industry, the objectively incorrect thing to do. But it is what I'm going to do. If any of you out there have insight on like that specifically and want to help me, I'm obviously open to suggestions, but that's pretty much the plan right now. That and like go to conventions and like set out a table and start drawing. Because again, that's the only thing that I do that really draws people's eye is I draw. I'm kind of good at drawing, and I think that it's particularly unique that I've achieved the technical proficiency that I have and also written a book about my characters. That's not something that, at least that I've seen, extremely common. And so, yeah, I think that that's like the thing that I have going for me, and that's what I would really like to lean on. But yeah, so this is my longest video. This is probably like by twice as long as my next longest video, and I still have more to say, so I apologize if you've made it this far, dude. God bless your soul. I'm so sorry about this. There's a lot, but yeah, so like that's, I mean, my book's coming out in a couple weeks, and this is kind of my plan. I'm gonna just keep doing stuff like this. You know, maybe if there's like influential people out there that I think would be interested in my work, maybe I'll get them, try and attempt to get them to help me promote it. I don't even know how one would go about doing that, to be completely honest. Again, my internet fluency it's pretty bad. And you know, I've had people say like, oh, you should get this person to endorse your book, or you should get this person to endorse your book. And I'm like, how? I have no idea how I would get in contact with any of these individuals. Especially like someone was like, you should get Andy Serkis to read your audiobook. I'm like, A, I don't even have the money for an audiobook right now. And B, Andy Serkis, like, how on earth would I contact this individual? I mean, how, like, I'm a 27-year-old who has only ever been in the Army since he was a teenager and got his first social media this year. I'm working on it. I'm doing my very, very best. It's just, it's going to take some time if I want to do this the right way. And I'm okay with it. I'm really, really excited about the way that I've done this. It gives me so much less anxiety than just giving someone my work and hoping that they do right by it. Again, I know that it's not even, this is the easier option for me. I was going to say, I know that it's the harder option, and you know, it's hard to do the hard thing, but it's not for me. This is the easier thing to do. I'm happy to do the work if I have a piece about it. I will do anything if I have a piece about it. And I do have a piece about this. Some of the stuff has been tedious and I've hated learning how to do it, but at least I'm able to do this in a way that I believe represents me well. And ultimately, that's kind of been my experience with all of this. So maybe you found this enlightening. Maybe you thought that this was interesting. If you did, I guess you're welcome. I don't know. Again, if you've made it this far in the video, God bless your soul. This is obnoxious. This is an obnoxious YouTube video. I can't imagine that they will continue to be this long. But yeah, that's about it. That's all I've got for today. Of Stone and Steel, my first novel, coming out very soon. Oh, actually, I think my map's cool. Look at my map. Maybe I'll use my map for the thumbnail. This is my map. This is the map of my world. It's freaking sick. Yeah, it's gonna be backwards because I'm on my phone, but this is my map. Yeah, you guys have an awesome day.